Today I'm bringing as a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, we're going to be showing you guys the easiest ways I am making money right now grading sports cards. I recently got my PSA grades back and I had a 60% PSA 10 rate, and I'm making around 4 times on my initial investment into the cards and including shipping costs. So I kind of want to share my methods with you guys that are working right now and explain to you guys how you guys can make money yourselves. Now without further ado, we're gonna hop right into this video. So PSA is currently charging $50 for economy. The good news is that grades are coming back a lot faster than before. I remember a year ago when grades were taking 2 years to come back, and just a long time, waiting. And a lot of people now are getting their grades back from, say, last year. But for recent, submissions, they have been pretty good, which I will say, is good for PSA. They're kind of scaling up their staff, which is very exciting. So I definitely think there's some great opportunities. Now, the first rule of thumb that I really look for, so firstly, I'm grading mainly 2018 and onwards, and that is just because the gem rates are much higher, and you can really make good money, sending these in. I had a 60% PSA 10 rate, a 32% PSA 9 rate, and then the rest were 8s and below. I had a few 7s, but other than that, I was doing pretty well on my grading, but that will be for a separate video. What I want to say is, firstly, the thing I look for is if your card, if you can get a PSA 9, or a PSA 8, and make your money back, that is a great investment. So if a PSA 9 is profit, then chances are a PSA 10 is mega profit. So that is always a great rule of thumb that I use. If I can get a PSA 8, buying the raw card, sending it in, including all costs, if I can get a PSA 8 and make my money back, I'm doing very well. So that's a great investment, a card that I want to be buying up. One example is Ja Morant's Prism. So his Prism Silver PSA 9 is around 300 and his PSA 10 is around 1700. I sent these back and had around a 45% PSA 10 rate on these, and that worked out for me. I wouldn't say it's the most sustainable long term, but I think any card from 2018 onwards is always a good buy. And what kind of goes into me researching if I want to, buy these is essentially if I look at the PSA 10, rate on PSAcard.com, out of 36 total graded, 1,303 have got a PSA 10. So I'm pretty confident in myself with my eye and looking to see if it's a good card to grade, individually. So I'm saying out of the PSA 9s and 10s, pretty much all are grading out of the 3,900, off the top of my head, around 3,600 are either a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. And if I'm making my money back with the PSA 9 and making 3x my money on a PSA 10, I can personally, with my grading eye, I can make a solid margin on these. So I bought up around 10 of them, and I had 4 of them grade a PSA 10. So if we just do the math real quick, I bought 4 of them ungraded for 400 each, or I bought 10 of them, ungraded for 400 each, so that's a $4,000 investment. And just off of the 4 PSA 10s, because they're 1,700 each, I got around 7,000 back. So that's just off PSA 10s. Of course, that does not include grading costs, which were around, I believe, 600 including shipping. So 4,600 investment just off the PSA 10s. That's $7,000 back. The 6 PSA 9s, those I believe you get around 300 per. So that's 1,800. I've yet to sell those because I'm holding on. But I think overall, that's all free profit, and that's a 3,000 profit right off the bat. So that is definitely one card that I think is worth it to grade. And of course, you have to put the hours in for looking and understanding what makes a card gradable, what makes a card, what makes good centering. Surface, of course, is a little bit tougher to tell, but at least corners, edges, and, centering, you should be able to do through eBay if you're buying your cards off eBay. Another good grading strategy is to use Star Stock. I used to use this when I was starting off back in the day. Star Stock, essentially, if you buy a Star Stock A, that's usually equivalent to a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. So I know you do have to pay a little bit of a premium, which is why I personally prefer to buy on eBay or in person, best of all. But you can definitely make some good money if you buy these, you know, on StarStock. If you get a StarStock A and you can send it in for grading, you can make some good money off those. But overall, I would say if you're sticking to eBay, if you can get any card from 2018 onwards, get a PSA 8 and make your money back, always go ahead and buy it. And then, of course, these little larger ticket items, such as Ja Morant Silver Prism 9s, if you look at these ratios and you feel confident, if an average person can grade 33% of them as a PSA 10, if you feel like you've got a great eye, you know, you could possibly be grading 50% PSA 10s. And if you can grade 50% PSA 10s on these, and you're making 4 times your money back on PSA 10s, you know, you could really make some great money there. And then the PSA 9s are essentially a break even. So you're essentially just profiting off the 10s, making your money back on the 9s, which is pretty smart, pretty, you know, I wouldn't say easy to do. I think that's a little bit more of, you know, a big statement, but I would say if you have a grading eye, it can be very easy to make a great profit right now. You know, with $50 economy, I definitely feel fine in cards that are more than $300. I just think that's kind of the price point. If a PSA 9 is at least $300, I feel as if the $50 grading fee is definitely worth it. It can be, you know, I would definitely not recommend grading base cards right now. That doesn't make any economic sense. But for example, you know, Zion Prism Silver PSA 10s, I think are great buys. You know, a lot of these different cards, I would say, are a solid buy right now in terms of buying to grade. So if a PSA 10 is $1,800, you know, you can find some clean copies probably for around $400, I would say. You know, if you're lucky, I would say $300. But, you know, either way, if you're grading PSA 9s and making your money back, it's hard to fail on these cards just because the gem rates are so high on these Prism Silvers. I know they're a little bit tougher than the base cards to grade, but overall, pretty good graders. So I know it can be tough on eBay to kind of find, you know, ungraded cards that are gonna grade well. And one other big trick is making sure that the seller that you are buying from is not selling graded cards as well. And what do I mean by that? If you're buying, for example, an ungraded card, say I wanted to buy this and grade this, you definitely want to see, you want to click see other items to see what the seller is selling as well. Because if the seller's selling only ungraded cards, chances are the seller's a breaker, or the seller's just opening packs and buying ungraded cards and just selling them. So a lot of them could be PSA 10s, they just don't know it. Whereas, for example, this seller is selling graded cards as well. And that's a big red flag, because if he's selling ungraded cards and graded cards, if he thought this card would grade well, you know, chances are he would have sent it in himself, because he's also grading cards himself. So I would not buy from this seller just because they're grading some cards and not grading some cards, which means that there's a higher chance that there could be a problem with the cards that they're not grading. And that's why they're selling them as raw. So I definitely recommend, you know, making sure that the buyer or the seller that you're buying from is only selling ungraded cards. That's always worked better for me. If they're selling graded cards, chances are they looked through all these cards and they decided, okay, you know, this Ja Morant will grade well, so I should send it in, but these LaMelo balls are not going to grade well, so I should just sell them raw. So that's kind of the thinking. I would definitely buy from guys that are only selling ungraded cards, but hopefully this video gave you guys a little bit of tips, and if you ever have any more questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at SportsCardInvest. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm out. Peace.